7-Eleven, baby. There are days where I just feel weird. This is a weird day. I'm just feeling a little off. I'm feeling heavy. I think I feel like I'm shedding a skin of expectation after everything that happened this week with the disappointment I felt. It's funny as you become more aware of yourself and your level of consciousness, and you start to look at everything that happens to you through the lens of, I'm in total control of my reaction to this situation. I'm in total control of how I choose to see this thing. It's so interesting. As I've gotten deeper and deeper into the work, I can hold that knowing of this is all happening for a reason and all happening in perfect timing, with the knowing that I have to feel it to move through it. And it's just such an interesting two-parter to be aware of the fact that it's happening for your highest growth, but also be aware of the fact that this sucks, I'm disappointed, and I'm sad, and I want to be sad, and I need to be sad. And actually, being sad will propel my highest growth. It's such an interesting experience of my emotions now that I've become more self-aware and I've become better at identifying exactly what I'm feeling, and also have this trust layered on top. This is the new part that only came with a lot of deep work on myself. This trust that all of these trials and tests are really just the universe revealing to me where I'm not free and where I need to shed some more layers, shed some more skin. Peter Crone said that life will reveal the people and circumstances to show you where you are not free, which I got from Danny. He interviewed him on his podcast, and it's so, so true. That's actually a huge part, that quote, when Danny told me that quote from Peter Crone, that is a huge part of why I love the boardwalk so much. Not to bring the boardwalks into it, but I'm going to. It all circles back. But this is actually a core part of the experience design for the boardwalks that is not obvious until you're there. Until you are in a 5-mile walk with strangers. Some people you may know if you've come before, or brand new people who are experiencing this for the first time, true strangers. You will have moments in a 5-mile walk, an over 2-hour experience, where you will feel uncomfortable. You don't know what those moments are going to look like, and they look different for everybody, but you will have a moment in there where you will say to yourself, wow, that was awkward, or wow, I didn't like that person's comment, or wow, I don't like talking to this person. I don't like their energy. I feel like they're being passive aggressive, and that's triggering me. You're just going to be, well, actually, me, Talia, and Danny, thanks to one of our new friends, have changed the word trigger to the word activate, because that's truly what it is. You're not being triggered, you're being activated. If you take the opportunity to be activated by all of these moments, it will literally, I picture it like this. Imagine like a transformer that is you, and these moments will light up certain parts of your internal hardware, almost like a warning light, a blinker that says, look here, look here. Oh my gosh, wow, we're activated, we're lit up. Let's investigate. If you're brave enough to investigate, you'll get so much out of activations, right? Like in some of my diaries throughout this entire experience that I've told you through the walks, where there are people who have been hard for me to connect with. And these are people who come regularly. There would be conversations that make me feel uncomfortable, or times where I wasn't really able to leave a conversation, but I really wanted to in my intuition, but I went against that. That's some past people-pleasing tendencies, right? Or my avoidance of having a conversation I know I need to have or that I want to have, especially on, community management and speaking up for myself in the space that literally wouldn't exist without me. And that just comes down to, house rules, literal ground rules. I see the boardwalks as a home that I create and that I put so much energy and warmth and love into creating. And what's so funny is, as you've heard me say in past videos, I feel so comfortable whenever somebody comes and doesn't quite understand the intention, or, even though I try to cover all of my bases and lay out very clear expectations for the experience. I think any reasonable person who joins and watches the ground rule speech, which spans over 5 minutes, would experience that and say, here's somebody who really, really cares about the intentionality of the space, and I'm listening, I'm paying attention, I will follow the rules. But sometimes, despite all of my best efforts in the experience design, there are people who will hear everything I just said, who will even make it out on Saturday at 8 a.m., which is, as you know, an intentional friction barrier to begin with, so that I don't have the wrong people coming like I would if it was Saturday at noon or 1 p.m. But even if somebody gets through all of my barriers that I've very, very thoughtfully put into place, it does happen sometimes. Even if they get there, I usually, if they are new to the experience or newer to the experience, I will have no problem having a hard conversation with them. And by hard, I more just mean crucial. Crucial meaning I need to say what I need to say. I'm not going to let it sit, and I'm not going to let it linger, because that means it's going to stay within me. I'm not going to let it out. So that's going to cause dis-ease within myself. A literal state of not being at ease. And what's really interesting is, and you've heard me say this in some of the past diaries, the situations with the boardwalks, and these are all relational, right? Because this is a community event. I mean, this is an event. And I've done 81 of these walks in Austin. And what you'll see over time is this event is open. There are very intentional design choices made to draw the right person and to keep the right person coming back if they so choose. Because as you know, I don't invite anyone and I do not push the ball forward. It's really supposed to be this authentic energy of whoever wants to join will join. The morning they wake up and say, today is the day I'm going to get my butt up at 6:30 a.m. and I'm going to get myself out there and I'm going to walk 5 miles. That's who shows up. So all of this is just so baked in and so intentional. But if there is a new person who comes and against all my best efforts still does not contribute in the way that I expect as the head of the household, which is really how I see my role. I'm a host, but I'm the head of this house. This is a community. It's more than that to me. It is literally a family. It's a home that I curate. And there was somebody actually on walk 81. I was going to tell this story in one of my other diaries, and then I went down like Mr. Toe's wall ride, which we all know, par for the course around these parts. So let me finish that story that I started telling a couple days ago. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Before the hail and the rain and everything, we actually got through the first bit of the walk, which was the ground rules speech and the intro circles. And there was a guy. This is actually really wonderful. It makes me really happy. And in some ways, makes me very happy. We break to start the walk. And looking back on that walk, gosh, number 81 was so special because it really did look suspicious. Like the weather was looking really suspicious, but everybody just kind of was looking around and was like, all right, well, if these people can walk, I can walk. Like nobody dipped, even though it was looking like it was going to be pretty gnarly before we even started walking. Nobody was like, deuces, which I just think is so freaking cool. Kind of reminded me of like the Marine Corps. You know, it's like if one of us is out there, we're all out there. Hell yeah. So anyway, I just thought that was really wonderful. We start walking, the circles break, and then one of my regulars trots up to me and he's like, Elle, I don't want to be a snitch or anything, but I just want to let you know there was somebody in our circle who did not bring a topic. This is music to my ears. You do not even understand how happy that made me, because this is exactly the kind of feedback that I need to hear. Because if you tell me something like this, I have no problem, like a dog with a bone, walking up to that person and correcting the behavior. Because that's the kind of thing we're not going to spare the truth here. Especially because I have been more intentional in my speech about saying that your topic is the price of admission for this event. And it's very important to me that everyone contributes with a topic. So you heard that leave my lips, and you will still proceed not to bring a topic. We're not having that. We are not having that, because why are you here? And this is the kind of thing, this is the real talk of it, when people are like, how is this experience so good? This is what I'm talking about. Most people, most hosts would let something like that slide, right? Not me. No. Because if I didn't say the expectation, I'd let it slide. I said the expectation loud and clear. You heard me say it. And for you to hear me say that and then literally hear everyone in this circle contribute with a topic, and you're going to sit there and not contribute with a topic, I take that personally. I can take that personally. This is my house. And I'm not trying to be aggressive about this. I'm just saying, like, this is community management. It's not pretty. And it sometimes can feel like it's a little bit non-chill, right? It can feel like it's a little bit like, okay, well, calm down. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It is a big a deal. It's a big deal to me, because this is my event. If you want to go through an event and let stuff like that slide, be my guest. I will not be going to your event, because I like high quality, curated, very intentionally maintained spaces where I am not afraid to go up to you and say, hey, this is what I did, by the way. I went up to him because I'm not going to out him, but one of my regulars told me, hey, I don't want to be a snitch, but somebody didn't bring a topic today. And I said, who? And he was like, the guy with the 2 dogs. And I was like, thank you. I'm going to go talk to him right now. This is what it takes. He wasn't in my circle, so I wouldn't have known that happened. I would have known after the fact. But the best thing you can do is right when it's fresh. This applies to relationships too. Right when the incident is fresh, right when the feeling arrives, you own that feeling and you say that thing. Which, as you know, that's been a huge part of my journey and my growth. So what a wonderful moment. This is what I mean when I say, like, the walks are this for me. They are my practice grounds. Like I say all the time, my ground rule speech, this is a playground to learn and grow. You're learning about topics, a whole range of topics. You're also learning about yourself. This is one of these moments. This happens all the time. It's just different. There's different shades. Like I wrote today, there was this awesome tweet about how a father had almost lost his son to a dog attack when he was really young. And after this attack, he was a helicopter dad and was very skittish with his son being hurt, and was a little bit more overprotective and wasn't letting him be a kid. And even, like, you know, fall over or bump his head or like scrape his knee, just kid things, right? Playing in the mud, core part about being a kid. And he said that he had taken him to this zip lining, like outdoor kind of play area. And it was all instructed and it was all very safe. And there were harnesses and there were instructors. And even despite that, you know, he felt this overwhelming urge to take his son out of the experience because he was afraid. he goes back to this moment where his son got attacked by this dog and was in critical condition, and they almost lost him. And he decided, the father, to override that urge to take his son out of the experience. He's like, he was only 5, he was the youngest kid there, I was so afraid, but I saw them test the equipment, and I saw that my son was going to go for it. He was afraid, but he was going to go for it. And then I sat within myself and said, you know what? I need to be the bigger person in the situation. I need to let my son learn. I need to let my son experience the full range of life, the full range of, you try once, maybe it's scary, but every time you keep trying, it gets less and less scary. With every rep, there's more confidence. With every rep, there's less fear. And he decided to let his son do it. He comes down the zip line and he was like, oh my gosh, I want to do it again. And then he did it again and again and again. And the father was reflecting on how profound this moment was, of saying, wow, if I had stepped in on behalf of my son as the father and said, no, actually, I want to take him out of this experience, he would not have gone through that overcoming of fear and finding courage as a 5-year-old. And the son was reflecting to his dad. He was like, sometimes something feels really scary because you've never done it before, like ziplining. But then you do it once and you prove to yourself you can do it. And then every time you do it after that, it gets a little less scary. And that's exactly, it was just so profound, because I replied to him, the father, and I had said, it's amazing how the lesson that a 5-year-old took from that experience is advice that I give to myself all the time. To this day, even these meditation diaries, I had to give myself this advice. I had to give myself that pep talk. And it's almost like these life lessons you put in a little jar and you carry them with you throughout your life. And they change colors like a chameleon hopping from rock to rock. Every rock is a different experience. Every walk, it's funny that rhymes, gives me another growth moment, growth opportunity, growth conversation. It's the same lessons of like, this might be scary because you don't have the reps of experience in this specific area or with this specific thing, or this person has this specific way of showing up, and you've been so avoidant or resistant to talking to them or confronting them for this reason. But the more that you do it, the more you prove to yourself that you can, and the easier it gets. Just like the 5-year-old said. And it's amazing. It's like, 27 days ago, I was telling myself the same thing. It was so scary for me to put my face on camera. Now, I don't even really think about it. Now, and let's observe me a little bit. I was thinking about this. I was laughing to myself in my meditation, actually. Have you ever seen those photo compilations where like it'll be like, this dad photographed their daughter every day of her life until she turned 18, and then you see like the person like jittering around? It's like, over enough time, these meditation diaries are going to be that for me. And really, as my friend Annie joked, the only way you can really tell them apart is the way my hair looks, because I look exactly the same every day, or maybe my nails, but I look exactly the same every day, and I'm in the same robe. But it's so funny, because why I'm saying this is, when I first started these, that I have a relationship with control. And a big part of the reason why I had never put my face on camera before was because of my perfectionism, and because I stopped myself from making videos because I would get too in my head about what they needed to be. And I was going about it the wrong way. I was looking at what was out there, and I was saying, I couldn't do that. What I mean by that, to be specific, is you see those pieces of content that are super manufactured with a bunch of jump cuts, and it's like, here's an angle, and then here's an angle, and here's an angle, and now they're on the floor, and now they're in their bed, and it's like the captions, and it's like they basically wrote a script, and they're performing the script for you and trying to make it look like it's not a script. I would see that kind of a video, or like an informational video, like here's 5 ways to increase your attractiveness. I'd see that kind of stuff. And I just couldn't see myself in it. I just know myself so well. And I would see these types of videos and say, that's not me. It would drive me nuts to make any other video but the one I'm making right now. And that's why I haven't made a video until I went into myself, got to know me really well, and said, okay, Elle, what is something that you can make that feels so effortless to you? I didn't know some of the skills that I have. Some of these skills surprise me. My ability to sit on the floor and think out loud for over an hour at times. Most of these videos I've done of the 27 days have been over 25 minutes long of me reflecting and talking, and really including some good stuff in here. Like, I'm not just blabbing on about my day. It all has a point, and it all has an illustration. It all ties together in its weird, wacky way. I knew that I had a skill of just telling stories because people have always found me very entertaining and fun to listen to. And I always end up in these situations where people are like, being with you is like being in a time vacuum, because I will literally lose track of time when I'm with you because you're so captivating. So you're watching me say this, and it's like, how much time has gone on? Has it been 10 minutes, 5 minutes, or an hour? You just kind of lose track of time. I knew I had this skill in like an unconscious way, because now I know, because I'm sitting here doing these videos and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even need a conversational partner to make these videos. I literally prompt myself. My stories just generate in my head, and they never end. I have to cut myself off. I could probably do a marathon, like all by myself, with no prompt, no question, no like, here's what we're going to talk about today. And you know what's really funny? As I'm saying this, I'm realizing my style, the stream of consciousness style, I had never really seen anyone do it on video the way that I was doing it. And so when I was looking around and people would be like, Elle, you should just literally record yourself talk, or like, you should be an influencer. I don't consider myself that, by the way. Like, this is just what people would tell me. Or like, why don't you have a TikTok? You're so entertaining. Like, I need you to be on TikTok. I need you to like have more of a presence because you would really have a big following. I've gotten that so many times from so many different people who also have big followings or TikTok accounts or what have you. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can't see myself doing that the way that it's been done. That is what held me back from doing it. It wasn't until I got to know myself well enough to know I've got to create the conditions to make this fun, easy, and light for me. And here we are. The conditions of these videos are the only way that I could make them. And yeah, they're really odd, but I'm also very odd. I'm odd. These videos are exactly like me. Like, there was, this is kind of funny timing. I got two, I call them constructive comments, because they weren't hate comments. I think it was, now that I've done a lot of these videos, my videos are being kind of like plugged into people's discovery feeds, and they have no clue who I am. So they're clicking into a video and they're like, what is this? Like, imagine if you saw this without knowing what I was doing. Like, okay, let's do this thought exercise, because this is how I build empathy with people in general. Let's imagine you had no clue what this series was, and my last couple of diaries, because I'm quite behind on captions, don't have captions. So let's imagine you're going around about your YouTube journey of the day, and you see this video in my mug in a robe on the floor, and you see me hit a timer. It looks like I'm asleep, hitting a timer, and then popping off. You'd be like, what is this? So that's exactly what happened this week. I got 2 comments, which I think they're really funny. I mean, I don't care. It's going to continue to happen, and I don't feel any type of way about it because I'm just being myself and I love what I'm doing, right? And this is, again, I'm not making this content because I think I have to, or because I'm trying to have an outcome, like I'm trying to be an influencer or I'm trying to be famous or get views. That doesn't matter to me at all. I'm just being myself and sharing it. I'm just literally recording myself in my natural form and putting it out there, and whoever resonates, resonates, and whoever doesn't, doesn't. And that's great. And if these continue to get 50 views for the entire year, yippee-ki-yay. I will be thrilled, right? But because my videos are, I just noticed that it was like these 2 comments in one day. So I'm like, oh, maybe like one of my videos got plugged into a discovery feed somewhere. There was this one comment from someone saying, not everything is meant to be shared online, sweetie. And I replied and I was like, I respect your opinion, but I enjoy sharing my life openly and vulnerably. That's the truth. Thank you for your opinion. Me a year ago, 2 years ago, would not dream of doing what I'm doing. I can understand. I can put myself in my own shoes a couple of years ago and be like, that is certifiable. What is she doing? So I have complete awareness of the fact that this is odd. If you don't know who I am, you don't know how I've grown, and you don't know how comfortable I am with myself, I totally understand how you would see this and be like, oh my gosh, why is she sharing all of this online? I don't really see it as sharing too much. I just see it as sharing the truth. I just get on here and I say what I'm thinking and feeling. It's raw feelings and honest thoughts. And they're not perfect. They are what they are. Sometimes they're deeper than others. Sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes I'm giddy. Sometimes I'm horny. Sometimes I'm exasperated. Sometimes I'm quiet and processing something deep. You never know what you're going to get, and that's the human experience. I'm so excited by how these videos are demonstrating that yeah, if what you get out of it is not everything is meant to be shared online, sure, I respect your opinion, but I don't really see what I'm doing. I mean, who would this hurt? I'm so comfortable with myself. It's like, what would I not share? If there was something in my life that I was not comfortable sharing, that's an opportunity for me to do some work and to relieve myself by telling the truth about it, to overcome it. So I would love to get to the state, I think I'm pretty close, where there is just genuinely nothing that I wouldn't feel comfortable to share. And that's my own personal preference. I'm very open, and I love what I'm doing, and I love what it stands for. What excites me more than anything is like, how could I look you in the eye and say, I really care about expanding emotional awareness and intelligence, and not walk that talk. These videos are me walking my talk. You want to know how deeply I care about telling the truth, about emotional awareness, about emotional intelligence? Look no further than 27 pieces of video evidence spanning hours of time of me going through the full spectrum of emotions and hitting publish and sharing some really, really deep stories and processing things and channeling things and coming to realizations and sharing them all without reservation. Like, this is, you want to see how much I care about this and what a champion I am of this, an advocate I am of this? These right here. So that's why that comment did not deter me at all, because I get it. This is not for everybody, and I would not expect most people to do this. This is really something. I could not even imagine a past version of me doing this. I would roll over in my Kia Soul 5 years ago if you told me, hey, guess what? You're gonna sit on your floor in a bathrobe and you're going to tell your deepest, darkest secrets to the internet. And you're going to also write about them really openly for everyone to see. Doesn't that sound fun? Doesn't that sound like something we would do? No, it does not. In no universe would me 5 years ago be doing this. Isn't that amazing? So that one didn't have an impact. And then the other one that I got within the same day was, this one was funny. It was, what is this BS? Fair. Like, this was on the last video I did. I felt like that one was pretty good. I mean, not to be biased, but I think I love all of my videos. I mean, I don't even put a word on them, like pretty good. They happened. They happened. They were what they were. I'm proud of myself for posting them, for recording, for posting, and for giving you a slice of life of the day. That's my barometer for success, right? But again, let's put ourselves into the shoes of these people who are going about their day on YouTube, and then they see my videos pop up and they're like, what is this BS? So I replied to her and I was like, hi, I'm doing a daily series where I meditate for 30 minutes and I share whatever floats to my mind and heart. I've done it for the last 26 days. If you want to know what the BS is, I have no problem telling you what the BS is. You don't have to watch it. But if you want to know, here it is. So I just share this because it's incredible to see my own growth in this process. When I first started these videos, there's these thoughts that kind of float in your mind before you start something to try to scare you out of it. It's really just your nervous system saying, wait, we're safe here, we're stable here. Let's not add something that could make us unsafe. It's like, this isn't unsafe. I'm in my bedroom talking to y'all on the floor. I'm super safe, right? But I have allowed myself to let loose, in the very beginning. You can go back and look at this, it's interesting. I have these perfectionism tendencies. So, my hair would always be, perfectly straight. I would literally, in the beginning, take these videos after I got out of the shower because I wanted my hair to be perfectly dried. I wanted my face to be fresh. I mean, that was what I was bringing. And then you get 10 days into something and you're like, no more of that. I'm doing this whenever I can. And the fact that I could even do it for the day is a miracle. So it's so funny. It's so funny how you start to do something more and more. You build that trust within yourself. And then you're just like, the walls come down. I've been authentic through every video that I've posted. There is not, and I'm very proud of this, there is not one video that I felt like I was performing in. I just am being myself, and that is the only way that I could do this and to have it energize me. If I was coming on here with a prompt or a script or like, oh, I've got to make sure to say this. No. There is no way this would have longevity, because that would run in my head all day. I wouldn't be present in my life, which is deeply important to me, because I'd be running the script of like, oh, I have my meditation diary today, and oh, I have to say this, and like, oh, I have to remember to say this, and how am I going to say this for maximum impact? No. So you can see my growth in me letting loose, me like showing you my kind of crazy hair that I play with now. You can see this in like me putting my arm up and just being casual here. You can see this in some ways that I need to really like work on and figure out. The amount of time, because I feel so comfortable. I've always felt comfortable. I mean, you watched day one. That shocked me. I was like, what was that? I've never talked in front of the camera ever, and I talked for like 44 minutes. How? I was shocked. But the more time that has gone on, it is mind-blowing. I expected them to get shorter. They've gotten longer. And I never try to judge myself for like how much time it is, because whatever it is perfect. And I truly do not think about the time, where I'll go in and say, okay, I'm going to try to keep it under 40 minutes today. None of that. It really just is what it is. And that like surrender has been so helpful for me to not overthink it. But you would think, oh, Like, I remember on day one when I posted the 44-minute diary, I was like, oh, as I get more comfortable in front of the camera, I'll either get more concise, or this will just get easier for me, or the novelty of doing it will wear off. And not all of them are going to be like this. You know, this is an anomaly. They're going to get shorter. No, they did not. What's funny too, and like, feel free to give me feedback on this, but from where I'm standing, somehow, this is what is so wild, I feel like I am being concise. I don't think that I'm using superfluous words. I don't think that I'm like rambling. Like, yes, am I covering a lot? And am I sharing a lot? Yes, unequivocally, for sometimes over an hour. But I don't think that I'm being, what is a word? I don't think I'm being pedantic about it. I don't think I'm just talking to hear myself. I feel like each word has a place, and I don't know if that is the case when I'm speaking. Like, right in this moment, I don't know if this video has been cogent or coherent, but when I watch it back as it's uploading, I shock myself with how there's no real filler. I mean, I'm giving you a straight, whatever this is, 40 minutes of material here somehow. And it's like regenerative. And that is shocking. So I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I don't feel like these videos are a waste of time. I feel like I learn a lot from myself just hearing myself talk about these things that have been cooking up here all day. And based on the comments that I'm getting and the DMs that I'm getting, I feel like a lot of what I say really does sink in. Now, sometimes I'll take a theme, a general theme, this is unconscious, and I'll say it from multiple angles. That's coming into my mind, like I talked about on the video about obsessive compulsive personality disorder, if that is something that I do indeed have, but who knows. Stay tuned to find out. One of the elements of that is really taking a problem and looking at it with a flashlight from all different angles. And that has always just been something that's really fun for me. And always. Like, that's what I do with the ground rules speech at the walks. That's what I do with my tweets about the walks. I'll experiment with, like, what if I said this up top? What if I said this? What if I change this up? You know, I always just kind of like to expose and illuminate all the different angles that something can be said so that it sinks in. Like I talked about, a lecturer, the best lecturers will take one core concept and literally come up with like 5 different ways of teaching it, because they know that everyone processes a little bit differently based on their experiences, and what clicks for me might not click for you, and what clicks for you might not click for the person sitting next to you. So I think that's how I would describe these videos is, yes, sometimes I'll take a kind of core concept, but I'll try to come at it from different ways so that one of the ways that I'm saying it is actually going to sink in and will actually like shift something in you. I'm almost like testing different languages, hoping that you can hear one, hoping that one is in your native tongue. That's what these videos feel like to me. Now, let me know what you think. Let me warn you. Even though I love feedback, I'm the feedback queen. It does not faze me. Like I just told you about those 2 constructive comments. That does not faze me. Even if you tell me like what these videos feel like to you, I probably can't change them. That's the funny part. I think that I'll naturally grow, right? And I think that these videos will grow with me, which is really beautiful. But I don't think I am capable of changing what these videos are, because that would require me to put thought and effort into making them into something instead of just recording my reality. This is who I am. This is a powerful exercise, actually, because I think sometimes you get feedback from people saying, you should do this, this, and this, and people will give you all these different directions. But really, all these directions are what worked for other people, what worked for other voices. You look at like a Titan, you know, you look at somebody, there's this really good podcast, the Founders Podcast by David Senra, where he basically does what I'm doing, but he'll just go on a tear, a rant about a founder in their biography. He will read a biography and then just let it rip about this person's life, and for a while. And he just has this like infectious energy about him that you listen because he's into it so much, and the material's interesting, but it's really his obsessive like desire to capture this person's life and share with you what he learned from the biography and what stood out to him is why you tune in. And it's so interesting to me because people in these series, in these profiles, you may, if you don't like David Senra, you don't like his style, you don't like that he pops on the podcast and does like a very energetic rant about this person, you're just not, it's not for you. And you could give him feedback and say, oh, I wish it was more structured, and I wish it was this and this and this, and I wish there were, that's not him though. So it's like, if this person, David Senra, were to look around and be like, oh, what is a popular podcast? Who's out there doing the biographies of founders and telling interesting stories of founders? I'm sure it was done before him, but nobody did it the way that he did it. And that's why people tune in. They don't tune in to hear some bone dry, PBS style or NPR style, this is Walt Disney. They don't tune in for that. They're tuning in to hear this guy go on a tear with a lot of energy and a lot of passion, because you know that he cares a lot about this, and you want to hear that obsession. You want to hear that care. And I think what you're getting in these diaries, which is why they're weird and they're a little different. And if you don't know me and you don't, and you're just coming across these randomly, or we've never met, you either like somebody like sitting here and reflecting on their life with a lot of energy and a lot of passion, or you don't. And that's the kind of magical part, is that if I were to bend this meditation diary to be like what I already see out there, it wouldn't be me. I couldn't keep it going. And I think people can feel that it would be inauthentic. And it wouldn't be successful, which is kind of the hilarious part. I think a lot about trust online and offline. But I'll give you something interesting. Whenever I see something from someone saying, I'm launching this thing, and I think most people would agree with me, I will be so supportive of them, but I'm not going to put my name on it. I am not, unless I really know the person and the person has demonstrated their consistency over a long period of time in either that area that they're building in or another area, you will not see me putting my name on that, because I learned that lesson big time in 2022 when I found myself in a pseudo business relationship with somebody who really super charismatic roped me into, we should do a podcast together. And I was a very different person back then. This was before the walks existed, and I didn't really have much going on. I had friends, I had Brian and Annie, but I didn't really have a purpose. So she comes in like a bull in a china shop, so charismatic, can command a room, and she's like, Elle, I want to do a podcast together. And she gravitational pulled me into her orbit. And then in a series of 2-3 months, the whole thing exploded. And for over a year, I was picking up the reputational pieces of associating with this specific person. And I say this neutrally, and I send her so much love, but it was very hard for me to navigate. For over a year, a 2-month period of being associated with someone and putting my name associated with her name, stayed with me for over a year, because people tied us together, and they would reach out to me and say, hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with her? And I would be like, oh my gosh. I would be reminded on a near daily basis the importance of letting someone show you who they are over a long period of time. And that was in business and friendship to some extent. It was a very unfortunate situation. I wish it had gone differently, but I did learn a tremendous amount from that experience. That is the place that I'm talking from here. And what I'm saying is, when I see anyone that I don't know personally say, I'm launching this thing, or I have a new event series, or I have this new thing that I'm doing every week or every day. Good for you. That's amazing. You won't see me putting my name on it though. Until, if I'm still seeing you posting this thing in 20 weeks from now, okay, you got my attention. I'm still not putting my name behind it. Because once you get burned like that once you get burned by somebody who talks a big game and does not back it up, and furthermore actually causes a meteoric level of damage because they committed to things that they could not do, if you're associated with somebody like that closely because you did not do the due diligence on them, I'll just tell you, that's a lesson you only need to learn once if you're smart. And I learned that big time. And again, I send this person so much love and light, and I hope they're doing so well. But man, oh man, did I learn the importance of letting someone prove themselves to you. Because I think sometimes we expect ourselves out of other people. I know myself. I know that when I commit to something, I'm all in. I know that my consistency is there, right? I know that. You don't know that until I show you that. But what's really special is by the very fact that I've shown up and hosted the boardwalks 81 times in Austin, no one can come for me on my consistency. That's what's so amazing about committing to something and actually doing it. Same thing with these videos. I said I'm going to do them daily. I have tried my absolute darndest to do them daily. This is number 27. And how many, you look at like the stats. I think Danny told me once that a majority of the podcasts in the United States have fewer than 10 episodes because the person quits before they reach the 10th. I think like 2% of podcasts have fewer than 10 episodes that are published on like the Apple Podcast app. Isn't that amazing? That's what we're dealing with here. And I just had such an awareness of like, I'm not going to be that person. I did not want to start these diaries with any level of unnatural effort because I knew that the odds are stacked against you doing a commitment like this. It just makes sense. You say you're going to do something, just like a New Year's resolution. You say, oh, this is my year, I'm doing it, and then you fall off. That happened to me this year with meditating. That's exactly why I'm even doing these videos, because I got 11 days in to January and said, I've only meditated for 30 minutes a day, 5 days, and I've got to get my act together because this matters to me. So now I'm going to put a constraint on myself as a motivator, a daily goal. Now, this is a goal, right? A daily goal that's in my head. And I'm like, okay, I got to meditate and I've got to make my recording and I've got to just post it, right? That's it. It's a goal. I'm not going to hit it every day. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to set some unrealistic standard. But what I will say is I will be doing this for what I committed. I will be doing this for at least a year, hopefully every day. And I've gotten pretty darn close since I started doing this. I'm not going to be perfect, and I'm not going to like sit here and say that I'm going to hit this every single day. Because who knows? I can't anticipate what the future holds. But all I'm saying is I'm going to try my very darndest. And I will end up with hundreds of these videos. Easy. I just know myself. I'm like not going to stop. But I have to prove that to you, right? So this is an interesting exercise that I'll leave you with this and then one other related story. How can you build a reputation of consistency? This is something that I've done by just caring a lot and showing up. I've done 81 of the boardwalks. My host in San Francisco, the lovely and incredible Adele Block, has now done over 25 walks out there. And you know what's funny? I was just texting with her before hitting record because the walk is tomorrow. I always like to check in with her. And she goes, I'm launching this new company. And 2 people, I opened up the wait list, 2 people reached out to me who I had never talked to before. I didn't even know that they were reading my stuff on Twitter because they had never engaged with me. They had never messaged me. And they signed up, made the financial commitment immediately because they said, I've been following you for a while and I trust you. Trust is gold. How do you create a reputation of trust? Say you're going to do something and do it. Trust is gold. And the best part about it is like, you don't even really, it speaks for you. You don't even really need to say something. You don't need to say, trust me. It's like, no, just look. Just look at my actions. My actions speak for me. And this is what's kind of interesting. Wow. I was thinking back to the person I was mentioning, the lesson I learned about not going gung-ho with someone unless they show you who they are. It's the people who you should be weary of, who overemphasize how much you should trust them. That's interesting. Because the words are all they have. They don't have it in the actions. So they need to convince you in the words. These are the kind of people who will say who they are instead of showing you. So they will literally say, you can trust me. I did this, this, and this. I worked on this for this many years. I don't feel the need to do all that. No. Because my work speaks for itself. When people ask me, how many of these have you hosted? 81. I don't have to say anything else. You can stand there and you can do the math and say, holy shit, what? Speaks for itself. I only have to say one number and people will understand who I am. If I was out there saying, yeah, I hosted 5 of these and it's so great and we're also launching this thing and we have this new thing that you could buy and you lost me. It's just so interesting. I think that this is going to be a very, very critical component of, especially with AI, you have these new technologies coming out, like this video editing technology, Sora, and ChatGPT, and all this content. And like someone on the walks, JT, was like, your meditation videos stand out so wildly because all of the videos right now feel like they're written by ChatGPT. And then it's like, all of this really bland, lifeless, robotic content, and then you sobbing. And I thought that was so funny, right? It's like in a world, in an age where you can generate copy and then spin it into a video, and anyone could be a filmmaker, anyone can be a writer with ChatGPT's help, anyone can generate a script and speak to a camera. There's even a technology that changes your eyes being from over here where you're reading something to over here. It's getting so good that like the only way to stand out is by being a human who can do these things naturally. Isn't that ironic? Wow. So I feel like in an age where you don't know what you can trust online, show people how they can trust you. Do something. Commit to something and do it. and prove your reputation, prove your consistency and your reputation by literally just caring and showing up and being authentic. It's amazing how it's like, it sounds so simple, but I think it'll be increasingly a differentiator, right? Wow, it's really interesting. More on that, but I'll round it out with this. I was with Talia on a walk yesterday, and we were talking about how she started doing these videos inspired by my meditation diaries called Talia Talks, which is just amazing, in her car. And I had been telling Talia, she's a coach, incredible coach to business executives, and she gets embedded in their teams and does all of these trainings on communication and speaking from the heart and basically bringing like soul and emotion to the business world. And she is, you know, the best in the business at it. She's so talented and so gifted, and just she's taught me so much about how to own my feelings and speak from my heart. So of course she would do this professionally, and she's been doing this for like over a decade. It was her first and only business, which I just think is baller. So she was like, you know, I was really inspired by your meditation diaries, and then I started doing these Talia talks from my car, and I told her, Tal, you know, make it feel easy for you. I know you can't record your coaching sessions with these clients, but what if you just had a coaching call and then popped on video and just let it rip about what the insights of the call were? And it doesn't have to be anything planned or scripted, and it can go for as long as it needs to. Like, let the spirit move through you, just like I do in these videos. I can't predict anything, not even what I'm going to say. And she was like, oh, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to do it. And she's posted a couple now. She was also inspired by my zero care about how many views these get, which, seriously, who cares? I love that these are getting 100 views. Amazing. If it stays like this forever, hell yeah, because I know if you made it to this point, you a homie. And we could have a great conversation if we ever met in person about any of the 400 things that I've talked about in these. So, God bless. These could stay at 100 views forever, and I would be doing backflips. The fact that it even has 1 view. So, and on the bright side, my mom told me that she learns more about my life through these videos than our phone calls. So, heck yeah, there's, you know, I might just keep doing these for my mom's sake, honestly. Hey, Mom. Love you. So, anyway, Talia's like, okay, I'm going to do that. So she would do her coaching calls and then get on camera. It's funny because she feels most comfortable recording in her car. It's very much a me thing, too. If I wasn't doing these videos in my bedroom, they would be in my car. Because, like, that's another place I feel very safe to be myself. So she has done a couple of these. Danny gave her a piece of feedback that he didn't feel like they were truly her. The way that these videos feel, like as if you were talking to me, like there's no filter. I would be showing up the exact same way if instead of this phone, it was Talia in front of me, or if it was Danny in front of me. And he gave her this feedback saying, you know, Tal, like, I feel like it doesn't feel like it feels to talk to you, and it feels so good to talk to you. And I want it to feel like it feels, because it's so good to be with you and to talk to you. And so Talia brought this to me, and she was like, do you think my videos are inauthentic? And I'm like, do you think your videos are inauthentic? And she's like, no, I feel like I've been very authentic in them. I don't feel like I'm performing. And I'm like, okay, first of all, that's all that matters. Because any way that me or Danny may feel, only thing that matters is that you feel like you're being yourself and you're being authentic. That's what I care about. But now that we've established that, let's dive into it. Does it feel natural to you? Do you how does it feel to be on camera in the way that you are? And she's like, well, it's uncomfortable because I've had a resistance to showing my face. Same. And she's like, I guess that there's a part of me that feels like I need to like say something valuable. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So then we go down the layers of this, and it turns out there is a level of performance in the videos that she's posted. And not inauthentic performance, but just as she thinks she needs to give people value in a video, so she's trying to like construct the video for value, which is what I just told you. If I tried to do that with these videos, I would not be posting them, right? So we get to the root of this, and she was like, well, it's very helpful. And I was like, well, Tal, I think that your real brilliance comes through when you're with other people. And she's like, oh my gosh, like that is so true. She's like, I am at my best when I'm with at least one other person. And when I'm recording these videos in my car by myself, you don't get to see that dynamic, and you don't get to see where I shine the most. Because where Talia really shines is in conversation with others and in helping somebody see themselves more clearly and reflecting to them and in relating. And we're laughing in her car. At this point, we had gotten some ice cream, and we're laughing, and she's like, you, on the other hand, she's like, you, on the other hand, don't need another person because you just talk to your damn self somehow. So it's funny, it's like, I don't even need a person. I don't need a conversational partner. My 15 personalities are my conversational partner, apparently. I don't know how else is possible that I can talk for this long to myself. But somehow, it just generates, and here I am. And we're laughing our heads off, and she's like, that's what it is. Like, I feel so awkward because I don't have a person with me, and that's where I shine. And she's like, you can somehow do that. Like, you can sit there and you can let it rip, and like, it's very authentic and very entertaining, and like, that's just a gift. Like, I don't even know how you do that. She's like, I just don't have that gift. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, how do we, like, now I have to think about this and integrate this. And we were talking last night, and she's like, we've always talked about doing this podcast called Walk Your Talk, because we walk with each other every week on Wednesdays, and we have these incredible conversations. I record them in my phone, and they go on for hours, and they're basically like this, but with two people. And they're not, it's like, obviously Talia's involved too, so you hear more than just my perspective. And she's like, I really feel like it's time for us to explore that, because I feel this desire to put myself out there and to share, but I also recognize that like my Talia talks, the way I've been doing them, I'm just not you. Like, I just can't sit there and just let it rip like you do. I need a sounding board, and I need a partner. And I was like, yeah, of course. And it's like, I can do anything, I could do, I can talk to myself. I could talk to another person. I'm very malleable. I'm wiry, little bugger, right? So I just want to leave you with that, because this was a huge shift for Talia, and she's told me that multiple times, and she's just like, thank you for that insight about how what's the most authentic piece of content for me is actually something that doesn't just involve me alone. And so now she has that level of authenticity to build from. So I encourage you to think about, like, what is the truest, most authentic expression of you and your gifts? And that doesn't need to be a video at all. That could be writing. That could be pottery. That could be watercolor painting. That could be an event. It's a, what is the truest expression of you? It could be creating something in any way at all. Even just in the way that you show up with other people in your relationships or friendships, or being the one in the group chat who brings people together. What is that for you? Where do you shine? Like, really, I'll leave you with that. Where do you shine? Like Talia shines in conversation with other people. I shine apparently talking to my damn self. That's kind of hilarious. I also feel like I shine hosting and in conversation with others, but this is real fun for me, right? It's like, where do you shine and what's really easy for you? You find the intersection of that, you're really going to start cooking on something. You're going to start cooking on something that's going to be so fun for you, just like these are for me. So, all right, cutie heads, I'm going to leave you now so I can go take a bath. Oh my gosh, I thought this was going to be short. Y'all, goodness me, I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in to the Elle diaries of today. And I have my walk tomorrow, so let's see what the day brings us. I am so excited. I started this video being a little bit down, and I ended it feeling much better. So thank you for being here and witnessing that. It's incredible how much you can grow and shift in just the course of like 45 minutes to an hour. Wow. You can change your state in any time, babies. I love you so much. Thanks for being here. What's that intersection? Think about it. Let me know in the comments what comes to you. Love you so much. Bye. Talk to you later.